Hello and welcome to the Chrome Zone again. Now, last time we looked at the Fool, the Magician, and the four Aces. Today we're going to look at the High Priestess and the twos from each of the Minor Arcana suits. So you will need the Magician out of the deck again. That will be useful. You will also obviously need the High Priestess. And you will need Two of Swords, Two of Wands, Two of Cups, and Two of Pentacles. Now, just a word before we dive on and plough on with this, and that word is, remember to annotate your cards. If you didn't annotate the cards last time, then I strongly suggest you do. And you might try just trying to get a couple of key words back on each. But the best way, I think, is to either do this as you go through the video by stopping and making notes, or very soon after you've seen it. And I do recommend these sticky labels. You can get one or maybe possibly two on the back of each card. You can also write in the margins around the cards and on the cards if there's space. I would do that. And it can be a good way of testing what you've retained if you just do a check back. One last word on that. Don't fill the card out at this point. Leave space, because you are going to get your own interpretations. You're going to add richer, deeper meanings to things, especially if you're doing your daily card pull. You may get little insights from your day of things that have happened that get to be associated with that card for you. It's time then to meet the Priestess. Let's look then at card number 2 of the Major Arcana, the High Priestess. So unlike the Magician, who stands dynamically with outstretched arms, wearing a flowing red cloak, the High Priestess is seated. Her cloak masks her. You cannot see her arms. And we notice it's made of the same watery colours as the ocean. If you look, you will see that the hem of her gown becomes flowing water. Mercury, the planet of the mind and communication, is the planet of the Magician. But the moon is the orb associated with the High Priestess. She is the lady of mystery. Like the moon, with its shifting shapes, its deceptive lights, it is a mysterious body and deeply associated with the deep feminine. We notice she sits in front of a curtain, and we don't know what's behind the veil. You will notice, though, that there's a pomegranate pattern on it, symbolising female fertility. I think you can see that. But think as well that it was eating pomegranate seeds which kept Persephone in the underworld. The headdress that the High Priestess wears shows the 3 phases of the moon. That's the new moon, the maiden, the full moon, the mother, the waning moon, the crone. And the waxing crescent moon is at her feet. She also sits between 2 pillars, and one of those is black and one white, the opposing forces of life. And also echoing those Roman numerals that the card has for 2. The pillars of mercy and severity on the Tree of Life are called Boaz and Joachim, and we see the B and the J on the pillars. We'll come back to that book in her lap later. So if the magician is masculine, then the high priestess is feminine. If he represents the outer, then she is the inner world. If he is the conscious, then she is the unconscious. Whereas he is active, she is receptive, reflective. He is a source of inspiration, and she of initiation into the mysteries. He is overt, she is hidden. He is day, she is night. He is reason, she is intuition. He is analysis, she is knowing. He is left brain, she is right brain. So I've said before that each of the Major Arcana cards has a big chest full of meanings. But when she shows up in a reading, some of the ideas that we might associate with the High Priestess are such things as inner knowing, trusting intuition, the psychic or supernatural realms, messages from dreams, as well as sometimes things that are hidden from us, things that are secretive, something that is not revealed. In the bigger sense, a broader sense, it is with the priestess that the concept of duality is introduced to the deck. We see those two pillars on the column, the black and the white, and we're entering into a process of opposites, of polarities, of dualities. And part of our journey through life and through the tarot is how do we reconcile these two opposing forces? How do we synthesize and bring together the oppositions in a way that's meaningful, in a way that creates something greater because of the synthesis than the component parts? Twos begin the journey through polarity and duality, which we must blend and reunite. The number twos are often about decision, choosing between two options, and the tensions this can create. And with the twos, there is potential for conflicting options and a desire or need to find balance and better relationship. This is often accompanied by a need for introspection and contemplation, of looking within for answers. And they're often the process before action, rather than the action itself. Let's take a look now at the cards from the 4 suits of the Minor Arcana, which are also number 2s. And consider that if we were to get the High Priestess, or any card that reduced to number 2, and we will be looking at some more of those later, along with any of these 2s here, then that would be a real reinforcement of the message of duality, polarity, choice, conflict, relationship. That would really underline and underpin things. The figure on the 2 of Swords is very like, well, has resonance with, certainly, the figure on the Justice card, which we will look at later. The 2 swords there are balanced across the heart centre. Notice that the moon is in the background, and that gives us a real reference back to the High Priestess. This need to go inside and think about things. So when we're looking at swords, they always represent the mental sphere, the sphere of the mind. So we know here that a decision is being considered. Now, depending on the reading, it can be that a decision has been made, or that it's very difficult. There's a stalemate situation, and now is not a time when you're able to make a balanced decision. You can see the swords there, but their weight is very equally balanced. And you can see that the blindfold, again, is another hint at you're going to have to really think about this one. You're going to have to do some real searching to consider it. It maybe is not a time to spring into action. This isn't a time for just do it by any means at all. It's a time for really think about it, consider it, reach a balanced decision. You can see as well that the waters behind the figure are quite turbulent. So there may be quite a lot of stress going on, emotional stress going on. And that again reinforces the need to make a clear decision. But sometimes the card will indicate quite the opposite of that, a situation where you're stuck, a stuckness that you just cannot decide. Context lets us know which of those is the most likely. The figure on the Two of Wands has much dynamic energy and creativity, and we can tell that by the colour red that's so liberally adorning the figure. Also note the way that this character stands between two wands, which are very like the number 2 in Roman numerals, and which also form a portal, a doorway. And that's relevant to this card because this person here holds the globe in his hand and he's looking out and he's visioning. So again, he's not acting. This is not a time of action. This is a time of planning. This is a time of the big vision. This is the time of what's it going to be, and then making it come into being later. So very much the visioning, the anticipation, the planning, the far-seeing, he's looking out over clear horizons there, looking out to sea and just envisioning what he wants to happen. Not surprisingly, it's the realm of cups, of the emotions and relating, which give us this beautiful card, the Two of Cups. It's very reminiscent or reminds us of the card The Lovers, which we will encounter later on. If we look here, we see the male, the female, the opposites united there with the Mercury staff, the caduceus, the healing staff between them, so that this ability for mutuality, for consideration, for partnership, for harmony, for balance, for honouring the other and honouring the self, brings about a healing process. Now, whilst this can be about love and partnerships and attraction, it's also about situations that are balanced, harmonious, fair, equitable, benefit both parties. So this is the way really of working, not just with the mind or the will or for money, but really thinking about coming from the heart, engaging the full human being and working out things that are the very best outcomes for everybody concerned. So that brings us then to the Two of Pentacles. And we can see here this guy is really spinning plates, This is, how do we keep everything going? How do we keep everything turning? How do we multitask? How do we balance the things that we have to balance in life, especially in the realms of jobs and health and family and commitments and all of the things that make up the realm of Pentacles? We can see that Lemniscate figure is here again, that symbol of eternity, and this need to just keep everything in motion, keep everything balanced, keep everything turning and working. Though this card can be a reminder to manage your time well. Look at time management, look at how you're doing things. Are you working smart? as rather than working more and more. Are you balancing things out? And also notice that behind the figure, there are some pretty big rocky waves there. But I think, again, this sense of going within, he's standing on one leg. He is getting that balance. We know that when people juggle, they do so by remaining very still themselves, remaining very centered, very fixed, and just responding and being flexible. And so I think flexibility is another key word here. So I said earlier that I was going to return to the book in the priestess's lap there. Something's in your lap. You've got it nailed, haven't you? It's sitting right in your lap. It's yours. Easy peasy. You've got it. So if we have a look at the letters that are spelt there, we can see the word Torah, which is obviously the Kabbalistic scripture, but the H is missing from the end of it. It's concealed in the priestess's cloak. That figures. This is a card about hidden things, so it's not going to give us the whole picture there. We see a little bit tucked up a sleeve that we don't know about. The letters also form the word rota, meaning wheel. And that's really significant because we know that the tarot is all about cyclical movements, cycles. And the other quite close meaning from the letters would be tarot itself. Okay, tarot itself, if we jumble those letters around and add a T. And it's that I want to pick up on. And I want to go back to what we were saying about the magician and the priestess being the left and right sides of the brain. Because I think another thing that the priestess is telling us here is that she has the secret for how we get into the tarot, i.e., with the right brain coming into alignment with the left. So, what we call the unconscious, the ancients would call the underworld. And the underworld in ancient mythology is guarded by a fearsome three-headed dog going by the name of Cerberus. He guards the gateway to hell, or the underworld, I should say. It isn't hell, it's the underworld. And he stops anybody from getting in. So if we call the underworld the unconscious, what is standing guard over it for us that's analogous to this three-headed dog? Well, I would suggest that it's the intellect in service to the ego self, the conscious self, that doesn't want to admit all of the subconscious materials through. And there's a lovely old myth about Aeneas who wants to go into the underworld. And so he throws honey cakes at the dog, all three heads, honey cakes. And these three heads are busy munching and gobbling, busy with that. And he can sneak in to the underworld. And so I think when we give our left brain lots to think about with the cards, lots of interpretations and meanings and things to focus on, we do a spread, we're looking at those things. And that's the sop to Cerberus. That's throwing that honey cake at those dog heads. Keep them busy and sneak in. And while our left brain is really busy, our right brain can release intuition. And this comes very like the flow of water which seeps through, wicks through that porous gown that the priestess wears. So we see at the bottom of the image, her gown becomes sort of flowing water. And this is where the waters of the unconscious can come through to us. And it's interesting, and we will just finish by looking at that motif of water in a few of the cards we've looked at today. Just before we finish with the twos, I'd just like to comment a little bit about this water theme that's going on. So we know that the sea of unconsciousness is behind the high priestess. We can glimpse it there. We can see it. We can see the horizon there and the water. And we know that the water begins to seep, wick through, trickle through, as it were, as it permeate through that curtain from the priestess. And in the Two of Swords, we can see those waters, those quite turbulent waters. In the Two of Wands, they become plain sailing, lovely calm sea there. Just right to set sail, although he won't just yet, but when he does, that's just perfect. All is calm and silk-like out there on the water. Interestingly, in the Two of Cups, which is the water-based element, the cups, we don't actually see the sea. We don't see a river or a sea. But we do notice that the woman is wearing that pale blue gown that's a little reminiscent of the watery robes of the priestess. And also they are holding the cups. And the cups are containing water. The cups are containing that fluid of love, of the unconscious, of creativity, of the heart, all of those things. So in a way, the water's present there, but not in a visible way. We can't actually see it flowing. And then we come to the last card, the Two of Pentacles, and we've got some humpy-dumpy waves there behind the figure. So, a little bit of turbulence. And it's quite interesting to just spot the river flowing from the ocean, flowing through the cards. It's in a lot of them. And it's quite fun sometimes to spot it, spot the water there, and just consider, wonder why that's there. So there we go. There's our 5 cards for this lesson. Just ready for you to annotate. And no prizes for guessing what we're doing next time. Yes, we're going on to the threes. The threes and the Empress card. So I look forward to seeing you again for those. And if you want to know when that next lesson will be out, if you subscribe and hit the notification bell, then you will automatically get notification when I've posted a new video. So bye for today. I hope that was helpful, and see you again soon.